Howdy there, happy Sunday. Oh my goodness, is it Sunday already? Wow. Uh, time is linear. So, uh, briefly wanted to showcase here a really exciting new, somewhat new, training regimen that meshes really well with the release of LLaMA 3 from Meta on the 18th, which just 3 days ago. And I think it's just been something that's been at the forefront of my mind, and I think is really becoming much more of a conversation by everybody from Zuck to really a lot of the regulatory bodies on the cost when it comes to training models like LLaMA 3. And not just training, but hosting and deploying and running inference, and every single thing with AI is using energy, which is not bad by itself, but it does end up raising the question on how can we be efficient? How can we not limit access to this tool that can really and is already amplifying and accelerating so many great things, everything from drug discovery to more or taking care of mundane routine tasks, to also helping learners and educators learn and educate without having to spend usually as much energy on either of the tasks, being more efficient. But when you hear about even just how much it took to train LLaMA 3, you hear about these supercomputers and these superclusters, thousands of GPUs, thousands of kilowatts, even to the point now where potentially there may be a data center, if there's not already, spreading like gigawatts, and not from a place of how are we going to solve this, but from a place of showcasing really somebody else who's proposed a great, or part of a great answer, is why I wanted to start with this awesome post by Maxime, don't mispronounce that, Labonne, who has really done a lot for the open source community. And this is a paper from the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, I'll say, KASTE, on this technique, ORPO. So it's this, right, at least it didn't say shocking, it's something that they typically say, it's like, oh, this shocking new thing. So, alright, joking aside, this is a way to combine what's referred to as the supervised fine-tuning, or SFT, with direct preference optimization. So it's not just having a model go through the same information over and over and over and over and over that is a bunch of PDFs and things, and it's also not having, in the case of OpenAI, paying people in Kenya to annotate by hand things like, this is what bestiality is, this is what enter whatever dark topic you can consider. And right, we can even say OpenAI Kenya, boop. Now granted, time has been, a little hit or miss at times, but the fact that we are seeing at least one instance, and this isn't about shocking outrage at OpenAI, this is just at showcasing that there is cost. For every great innovation, there is cost. I'm not saying that this is the cost that made it worth it, but I'm saying that this is, anytime something is happening that's really great, we have to consider what the cost is. In this case, in the event that this hiring of people to annotate data from OpenAI is true, even at least to some extent, when this is an older article, it's that, right, and even if only part of it, even if they're embellishing it a little bit, I mean, it's, I don't think it is, I would never want to take lightly when somebody says that was torture. That's not something you ever want to take lightly, particularly somebody who's in, who's had to make this choice to do this job, any job, to be able to feed their families. That is, so take it at face value, but to prompt being mindful on what are the best strategies for training AI models that can be efficient, but also not lose out on quality. Easier said than done, which is why I'm super pumped about seeing really where things are going. And there's any number. This is one fine-tuning methodology. I'm particularly excited about it because I'm lazy, so this is a lazy methodology. I'm very down with that. And it comes from the country that has half of my DNA, i.e. the Republic of Korea, so that's pretty great too. So Maxime, though, has really been putting a lot of things out there in the open source community, reflecting Meta's posture of really giving these things out, and the community, when we say open source community, just this basically means anybody that has a computer, which is everybody. So it can go through and be able to use these things. And granted, there's a lot that has to go on with this. It's not just, oh, let me just, copy and paste it. There are other things that have to be done, so I'm not giving the whole answer necessarily. But anybody can find this same article. You can just tour datascience.com or Medium, or look up Maxime Labonne, go through this, and hey, if you end up cracking it out, I mean, good on you. You can use Colab. It's really, the reality is this is just one piece of the overall puzzle. But having tested LLaMA 3 so far, I mean, it's so good that any model needs some fine tuning to whatever the domain use case is. But I asked it when I had a system prompt for it to act as a programming tutor. I asked it a medical question about neurological physical exam, and it gave a very thorough answer on that. Not just talking about programming. So it's pretty good. Now, Meta has not published the data set that they use, so they published the weights, so it's open weights, which you have to get access to. So you have to, and if you try to download it and don't have access, well then which is the other thing I want to go through, is you go to their sites, you go to download models, you input your information here, and you can Meta LLaMA 3 if you haven't tried Meta LLaMA 2, great, go for it. Meta Code LLaMA, go for that, and then Meta. For me, I am definitely looking into and building out some things with Meta LLaMA Guard 2 from a security posture standpoint. So super excited about that because Meta is really the only organization that is openly building in alignment with them and what's it called, Cloudflare, with their Pingora library. They just open source from Rust, and there's some other. I should say there's other people too, but Meta is really the only big AI company. Just weird calling them that, but we're calling it an AI company, and Meta. But they are the only company that really is acting. They're one of the main companies, I'll put it that way. They're one of the main companies that is really pushing into creating security at the methods of evaluating AI for security from a both blue or defense posture, which is called blue team, as well as a really a red team, a simulated bad actor standpoint, and what we call the civilian side purple teaming, military, we would call it wargaming, but it's probably too aggressive. Um, all that said, you need defense and offense to evaluate truly anything. That's why you do scrimmages in sports. It's why you do sparring at the gym, because you are only as good as what you practice for, what you train for. And if you never fight or go against actual, if you don't simulate what reality is, I mean, you will not be prepared for that. So anyways, so with this, you would select these, and then once you put all the information, you'll get an email, and you can do it from the terminal, always from the terminal, of course, as an option, or you can do it through other things with it as well. They'll give you a link, or you can always do it like from Hugging Face directly, if you use like Hugging Face Hub. And this is their GitHub page, and it'll tell you all the things of how to. Whoop, there we go. Right, being able to go through quick start. Once you get an environment or virtual environment, and then being able to access the different models, yada yada yada. And again, right now it's 8 billion, 70 billion parameters for the parameter size, but then they also have there's quantized versions that have already been made, fine-tuned by folks, and there's instruct versions of those 8 billion and 70 billion parameters. So there's already over, I think, was the estimate, over 1,000 different versions now of fine-tuned versions of LLaMA 3 on Hugging Face alone. So 1,000 that have been downloaded, fine-tuned for something, and then uploaded to Hugging Face. So how many more are not on Hugging Face? Probably a lot. Probably a lot. I've done a few. I've put them on Hugging Face, so it's at least 4 right there. Yeah, the point is that everybody is getting a lot of good information, and people are getting a great tool in their hands. Let's not forget also that LLaMA 3 is also now in Meta AI, and it's also integrated into Instagram and into Facebook. If I had to guess, I'd probably say WhatsApp, but I don't use WhatsApp, so, and probably Threads, but I also don't use Threads, so. But if folks happen to use those platforms, right, or if it's not in there already, it will be pretty soon. Which brings us to case in point of, to me, having gone through Maxime's great work and benefiting from it, going through and to close out the conversation. What we're seeing here is that currently running it through data sets, implemented that practice, and it is about 9 hours to go. Training on premises with local protocols that I've implemented with PyTorch, CUDA, the whole shebang, to be able to actually not have to pay for some cloud provider or some container or some VM, some virtual machine to run what I'm working on. It's my hardware on my premises. I'm staring at the GPUs right now that are able to connect, and I can go through a Jupyter lab like this, because it's good to get that different segmentation and really look at the code step by step to ensure every line is being evaluated and tweaked to get as much efficiency out of it as possible, and not just copy paste. Because again, it's just not about, you have to learn every single. Things are so new. To keep on par with everything is a Herculean task by itself, much less to deeply understand. But it's about you always want to make sure that the code you're running, if it's not something that you came up with yourself, that you either have measures in place, like different softwares to evaluate things for any kind of poor actors, or you are going through line by line and evaluating yourself. I've done both to make sure that IMC not running something in my excitement to keep up, that is ultimately going to be detrimental to my work. But the important thing to me, and what I'll end on, this has been a little more rambly than I intended, but I think just seeing this has put me into more of a philosophical space, is that this current model right now, let's see, let's do, so it's running at, oh hell, boop, there we go. Okay, SMI. So that is running, it's about 272 watts persistently that are running right now on this GPU. And that over 8 to 10 hours, that's going to be roughly about 45 cents. Not a lot of money, which that is good for my pocketbook, right? Because it's not something I'm necessarily paid for. But I think more important to me is the fact that that amount of energy, I'm going to be asleep in a couple hours, and so I'm going to wake up and this model will be trained. Now, will it be perfect? It's still a work in progress, but I'm not having to blow 10 grand to run a supercluster for training something that's really at the bleeding edge. And also not having to expend that energy that would be part of that supercluster. So there's the financial cost of getting access to that cluster period, and then there is the actual energy cost of, for X amount of watts that are burned, means this much gas or this much solar or this much wind or whatever the source is. And so to me it's really important. I'm a big fan of the planet and want to make sure that I am doing my part to innovate something that can give people their time back, but not at the cost of selling a future, because we spend so much energy inefficiently. So we want to be precise, surgically so, to be able to get that innovation that ultimately will solve the problems that in part ways it is creating. Like we already have folks now investigating nuclear fusion. It's like not just fission but fusion, so clean energy there, and a number of other different ways, everything from using converting kinetic energy from gravity as things are moving to convert to energy, to revitalization of really a lot of the nuclear conversations that have been happening, to, just being more efficient in finding information, so people are spending less time randomly going down rabbit holes. All of that is because, or at the center of that is quality AI, quality compression of intelligence that leads to actionable, that helps amplify human intelligence to make better decisions faster, so that way we can spend less energy on those things. Not doing more, but doing better with as much, if not less. So we can be more judicious with our time, with our energy, and spend it more in front of people and less in front of screens. Speaking of which, I'm about to go ahead and be with my favorite person, my wife. But the takeaway from this, I don't want this is not about, oh, you shouldn't train AI models unless you know what you're doing, or like energy. That's not what this is about. This is about being mindful.
Message on your phone from wife woman saying, Dempsey and I are looking forward to seeing you.
A cost for anything. Everything from turning the lights on to training a model to deploying it. And while it's easy to say, oh, well, these big companies are doing it, so like, why do I care? It's like, well, because we all live on the same planet. So it's going to take everybody coming together to figure this out. And in the meantime, it's right? We've already seen how much the open source community, how big of a space it is just to share, and it's different than what the traditional model has been of like, my IP, no, I can't, I need an NDA because then, look, what if you take my idea? And instead, I mean, there are so many complexities into running, even just me running this on my local machine. There's so many complexities that most people don't even want to consider, that you can literally put the answer out there. Like, oh no, I'm not a technical person. It's like, that's fine. That's fine. Everybody goes at their own pace, and right, for everything that I know, there are 1,000 things that I don't know that I'm terrible at, and so I depend on people who are great at those things to be able to learn from and to help me improve. So it's not, anybody can do this. Literally everybody. I mean, look at me. See, look at this. This is not, it's not rocket surgery. But hopefully this was helpful, and really looking forward to seeing, posts about what the results of that training run are, and really just looking forward to seeing the continued innovation. Thankful for folks like Maxime who very kindly have put this out there